My name is Kirby. It's the solstice, and this is Knife Fork Book. We're here for our annual holiday queer. Um, the solstice holds very special feelings for me personally. It's kind of like the season and the holiday made sense the first time I went to a Festival of Lights celebration in Kensington Market. And the joy and the frivolity and the celebration of the earth and life and light, which is, as you know, something I really, really appreciate. My lighting, it's all about the lighting, darlings. It's always about the lighting. So, so the solstice and Festival of Lights for me is a magical night. And I don't know about you, but when I was younger, family gatherings for the holidays weren't exactly, I got through them like most everybody, but I couldn't wait to get to that gay bar afterwards. I would duck out hopefully before 9 o'clock, and there used to be this I guess you can call it a club. It was a bar in Toledo, Ohio called the Open Closet. The Open Closet was in a strip mall in Toledo, Ohio, where there was a Denny's and a Farmer Jack. And oh my God, the sweetest thing about this place was A, it was there. And B, you would walk down the full length of this long railroad bar going to the back. And then you got to the back doors and there was that thump, 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 thump. And you walk through the two doors and it was magic land. It was the blue lights and the mirror ball and this wonderful couple dancing to Rubber Band Man. I found paradise in that moment. It was just sweetness itself. I was even underage. It doesn't matter. My therapist at the time said, go to a gay bar. So that's what I did. And ever since, I've really cared about how queers gather together around this time, because I know it can be precarious and difficult. And so it's sweet to be able to just gather and have a place that we can hang out and enjoy ourselves. I want to do a land acknowledgement before we get too much further. We're in the city of Toronto and acknowledge that we're on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. I am so grateful and support what's going on with the Indigenous movement. And it's interesting. There was this great book I had read a number of years ago. I think it was called Peace, Power, and Righteousness by Taiyaki Alfred. He was an instructor at Victoria University. And it was a manifesto. And I'm reading this manifesto, and for me, it could have been a manifesto for gay liberation. It was entirely about what it actually means to be free. And that has interested me my entire life and motivates much of my writing, actually. Did I say welcome? We're here to celebrate the launch of Not Your Best. This is a series that we put out. This is Not Your Best #2. Why is it called Not Your Best? Because I got so fucking tired of the best of contests, the best of lists, the best of what the fuck, the best of Canadian what the fuck. I mean, I thought, I don't need your best, okay? And much of that was culled from something that was already published. I'm not looking for the best. I'm just looking for good shit. Give me some good work. Show me something that I'm going to remember. Show me something that I want to go back to. And that became what was behind creating Not Your Best. I also worked for a publisher that used to publish Best Canadian Poetry. Anyway, This is the queer as fuck issue. How did this happen? Of course, I slurred and it became queer as fuck. And I thought that's really funny. So, and I loved it when Ralph Kaleve, who did the wonderful layout design work, and Ralph's here tonight, and thank you so much, because you know how gorgeous this thing is. Many of you have seen it. It's really stunning, and much of this was thanks to how wonderful and fun it is to work with Ralph Kaleve on stuff. We're very, very fortunate at Knife Work Book to have such a designer. Anyway, what I loved was at the back here, this of course is supposed to say KFB, but when it cut off, it looked like queer ass fucker. So I said, keep it, I love it, keep people guessing. I love that. So thanks for that, Ralph, so appreciated. Anyway, the joy of receiving the submissions on this issue, and my biggest surprise was not only the quality of the submissions, that didn't surprise me, I knew I was going to get some great queer work, but the real surprise was the through line that was found in the editing and creation of this work. This is, of course, stuff by Philip Hare. He's unable to come this evening. He's celebrating at a fire pit in Harborville in Nova Scotia tonight. And, but this is work that opens and closes this publication. These are all wonderful ski masks that he decorated called Little Terrors. And Philip also did the cover of Poetry is Queer. So what a sweet thing to have him front the journal. Darlings, I'd like to start with Ian Martin. Ian, are you ready? Ian Martin is a writer living on unceded Algonquin Anishinaabeg territory in Ottawa. Eo's work has appeared recently in Touch the Donkey, Arc Poetry Magazine, Nobody. Were we in the same issue as Nobody? I think so. Cantheus, Neutral Spaces, The Puritan. Ian has published 5 chapbooks. Most recently, I Don't Trust Skinny People. I'm with you, honey. From Ghost City Press. When not writing, Ian makes small video games and complains online, and I'm so entirely grateful for that. Please join us in welcoming Ian Martin.
I'm going to read a piece of mine out of the anthology, and then another piece. The piece in the anthology that I'm going to read is called A Universal Understanding. It's got an epigraph, which is a screenshot of a tweet of a mistranslated line from a bootleg copy of a Pokemon video game. And it goes like this. I saw a bit, as if I feel he runs on the sea. He is beautiful, stately, and can pass through the city quickly. He is amazing. Fellas, is it gay to write a poem about a guy? To plot his arms, his legs? Fellas, he always texts you on your birthday. To take your poems and burn them. To start over with a guy. To define him against you. Fellas, is it gay to compartmentalize? To build a city of your disparate parts, to let him Trojan his way inside? Is it gay to learn science, to misinterpret the results, to make sense of how he makes time to see you, to exist outside the bounds of time and space, the sun and moon fucking behind the earth's back? Fellas, to still like women with your hands in his? Is it gay to be bi? To not rewrite the truth, but to supplement it, and what a supple man to add into it. Is it gay to solve equations, to use words, things that come out the mouths of other men, to mistranslate every text, to see a bit of him beautiful, stately, to brush at every story for a fossil copy? Fellas, is it gay to go primordial for a guy? to mold his body as a pile of clay deep in the earth, loam that froths at the touch, plied by hands you used to think weren't yours, to dig your nails into the bones of dead men, to choke nutrients from their decomposing. Is it gay to drink water, which is 70% of a man's body, to then bloom, to thrive only underground? Or do all things come to the surface? Fellas, I have to find out. Thanks. And then the other piece I'll read was in that issue of ARC 94. That's the one. And it's called Flow State. You know those puzzle games where the pipes have no ends and the water sprays all over and you lose because you couldn't contain everything, because you didn't think hard enough, didn't plug up every hole, and you lose the level over and over until you don't, but it doesn't matter because you're soaked through and everyone hates you, even though it's just one level, and you never tell anyone you play this game because it's shitty. Everything you like is shitty until someone writes an article about it, but they get the game wrong. They say the pipes are femme, the failure is queer, no mention of your quick dry cargoes or your perfect pipe spins, but real players never spin perfect and fake players don't write articles, and you play this game for a year and a half, never knowing when you play it for the last time, and you get a new phone and there's 100 new pipe games, 100 new pairs of shorts, 100 new articles, bully circling 100 more. And what if there was a set of pipes you could flush it all down and it would be gone forever, and you would win the level, and you could just do that again and again until the levels stopped?
Thank you so much, Ian. You already know I'm taken with your work. We published it. Yeah, thank you so much. Katie, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Wonderful. Katie Stobart is a queer writer and artist living in the beautiful city of New Westminster with a sassy calico and their family of houseplants. Katie's writing, art, and reviews have been published in the Loudon Single Tree, The Goose, Room, and CV2. Most recently, she co-authored The Trick to Feeling Safe at Home, published by Coven Editions. It's a pleasure to welcome Katie Stobart.
Thank you. I'm going to be reading 2 of the 3 poems that are published in this issue, the first one and the last one. Bookends. It's God's own trick of the light. You lie half awake in the dark thinking, God, I want her. There's something sick about it. You think about licking her lips, snaking your tongue along her straight white teeth, stealing something from her mouth, some invisible promise. It tastes like honey and iron. On the flip side, you have no right to think of her as a god thinks daylight into being, a brilliant wink radiating through the ozone's hole, laser hot trick of thought contorting cells into their own shadows. You think about peeling the edges of her burnt skin, first to see her raw under her thin shell, the swell of red shoulder. Did Persephone ever think to fuck Athena? Lay her clean and wise across a tableau of death? Paint her black shadow, her irradiated imprint on the curve of some clay vessel? Her love, some shattered terracotta? You lie awake in the dark, sinking into sticks, warm current closing over nose and lips. Breathe in the elixir of her scent. Thirsty, you imagine drinking from her lips, tracing a pattern to draw a tremor from her, tracing a fault line the earth shudders beneath, splitting her with your tongue. God, I want her. There's some trick about it. On the flip side, you lie awake in the light, the ceiling white above you, your mouth dry and empty, a trace of honey on your breath. Intrusive thoughts. In the back seat, I stare at the door handle as the vehicle speeds impossibly along the highway. Open the door, feel the air grip you, suck you out. All the objects in this capsule flying, scattering over the roadside or into oblivion. A spoon in my gut dips into the sublime as we race around the curve, and the wide chasm comes into view over the edge, a penciled-in river far down, beyond the evergreen spear points and cliffside rubble. Imagine, adjust the trajectory an infinitesimal fraction, lose control. Now you're weightless over space, plummeting, the car blown apart into fractions. She yawns, lifts her half-clasped hands above her head, bent slightly at the elbow to stretch in the passenger seat after hours of stillness. What would it be like in a flash of heat, snapshot of clasped hands secured above her head, back arching, snapshot of licking naked skin, a breast, a growl I can feel in my throat. I can taste her. I close my eyes tightly. What does death feel like? See auras against the inside of my eyelids, feel auras fluttering against my pelvis, hear auras stammering against my heartbeat, rake my nails across my skin to banish them. Imagine my horror, blood flooding out from the scratch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie. It was a sweet thing to open your submission and be submissive. Thank you so much. Such a great piece. KHASHAYAR, are you ready? KHASHAYAR Mohammadi is a queer Iranian-born Toronto-based writer and translator, and dear friend. Please welcome KHASHAYAR Mohammadi.
The world won't budge with force. Cry not. What can one do? If you clash with a fellow human, what can one do? I've decided to sacrifice my soul for you, my love. If you're indifferent to our connection, what can one do? The only remedy to an aching heart is patience, and if the heart is impatient and relentless, what can one do? If the blade of separation strikes your pupil and bleeds your heart dry from tears, what can one do? I do not take a single breath without thinking of you, and if, my beloved, you don't think about me, what can one do? If the common folk help the needy, it is because they can, and if they can't afford to help, what can one do? The soul seeps into your workmanship, O heartless Khosrow. And if you're oblivious to such things, what can one do? So in Iran, whenever it's winter solstice, we get together and read ghazals. And I just read a ghazal I translated. I see Jim here. I just read a ghazal I translated. And it's a tradition. We always read ghazals. And I thought I would start this night with one. Okay, I haven't read in a long time, so I want to talk less and read more. Awakenings. It is about me and my first lover walking on the streets of Tehran in the beginning of our love and seeing a newspaper with its front page being pictures of two men hanged in a public square for homosexuality. And make awakenings. 1. Hung like a this, hung like a that, until hanged in public. Hung like a mechanical crane, riot shields piled up, queers hung like limbo. We watch Malanoche the night before you find a girlfriend. Practice your masculine smile to stay alive. 10 years later, a falafel in Midtown. I have forgotten the lynching in Brokeback Mountain. You have forgotten the queers hanging out. 2. Give me a reason to. Give me a reason. Give. Paper helps. Moon bright marble glare of skin. Cool skin needs a reason to. 3. Second-hand lips. The grapple that beds me. 4. Say more, then listen. Not enough imagery for breakfast. 5. The way birds fly. The way your eyes hold the way birds fly. The way sky fits romance. That was from Not Your Best. Okay, you know what? I'm going to ditch the sad one and I'm going to read an ode to, gender neutral whole we all share. The Rhapsody of the Anus. After Guy Hukengam, David Bowie, and Brian DeDora. At the center of it all, an autonomous sexuality. The Homo Narcissus in its naive monologue. Each man a surplus where masculinity compounds interest. At the center of it all, a pharmaceutical queerness. His lips smeared with fuck, as Sod dictates to the spectator. He introduces himself as Sod preaches to the uninitiated. At the center of it all, an essential introjection. Ghostly kisses between the corpus and the imagined until, wow, beautiful hands, and failed to quote Freud. This fatal sodomy staged or all acts eluding reproduction. A sexuality based on deceit. This gendered consciousness, utopia of the dispossessed, pilled in an eternal cuddle pile. I was entered, so I entered. I expected to be different after. Passive old bullshit, sacramental to weak-willed irreverence. At the center of it all, an anus or manus turbata in a circle for safe practice. Dedicated to Lorca, Brian quotes ribbons of cum to constellate. A body granted fantasy, a dream boy so angular. We can find another way, like a warm stream of piss. Scholars still dig for hidden reason. It's all here. It's no secret. At the center of it all, irreverence to fulfill a consumer wish. All but obedience hones the desire. At the center of it all, a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cass. Brian, since you were mentioned, let's you and I talk about your beautiful visual work here. There is some gorgeous visual work in Not Your Best too, including the Philip Hair masks that I had shown earlier. There's also beautiful featured work by Angie Quick that is really, really striking and extraordinary. There's some beautiful photographs from Don Pyle's upcoming new book called Shot in a Mirror that are also arresting and stunning. But Brian, darling, once again, you take me to a place that's at my core, and that is being a fellow queer with you and what it meant to escape and what it also meant to arrive. And your work here, so beautiful, so simple. And I wondered if you could share a bit of it with us and talk about what it is that we're seeing here.
Absolutely. First of all, the square format that you see published is because of a very storied camera. It's a Hasselblad, great big marvelous heavy thing, and listen to it when it plunges. Yeah, so I have a lot of fun with this camera, and I've been working on doing what I call posters, and this piece that's been included is from a series called I Have a Remember When. When I arrived in Toronto in September 1969, 23 and going on 24 and out for the hunt, I was on the cusp of a huge wave of gay immigration into the city. People were coming from their small hometowns, which I'm going to talk about in the piece. Many Blacks, lesbians, and gays were coming from the Caribbean, and the city was really hot. Pre-AIDS, of course, and the bars were full, the alleys were busy, Queen's Park was riotous. But there was a whole thing about getting out so that you could actually get here. So that's what this poster series is about. Running from the jiggling squish of all that appalling heterosexuality of Legion halls, beer parlors, and wedding receptions. Running to the edges of town to hitchhike, stealing down to the Greyhound station for a late night bus out of here. Getting out. To find that bar that not only offered a drink, but safe haven and good prospects for a hookup with someone like me. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Brian. You already know. I know what it means to board that bus and to get there, and the expectancy and the thrill of
Getting out.
of getting out and finding it, you know.
Finding it.
And
And the clues in the
wow.
yeah. And the clues in a piece of that Greyhound bus station or the hitchhiking. Yeah, getting out. And it was an amazing time because the city was just flooding with gays. And people were, it was an amazing time. But yeah, it was all running from those small towns and the homophobia, you can't raise your hand, the whole issue. So that's sort of what that series is about. And there's more to come in other series as well.
Well, I'm glad to hear there's more to come, and I love this series, and I'm so glad
Glad to share this with everybody tonight.
that it's in the series. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Anik McCaskill. She's the author of 2 full-length poetry collections, No Meeting Without Body, which was nominated for the Gerald Lambert Memorial Award and shortlisted for the J.M. Abraham Award, and Murmurations, Gasbro Press. 3rd collection will be also by Gasbro this spring, which I'm so looking forward to. She lives in Halifax, on the traditional territory of the Micmac, and it's a pleasure to call her a close friend. Please welcome poet Anik McCaskill.
Thank you very much. I have really enjoyed listening to the reading so far, even more than I thought I would. And it's becoming more and more obvious to me how much I miss hearing poetry read aloud. So thank you, everyone, and I'm looking forward to the rest as well. I'll just read 2 poems. I'll start with one from the Not Your Best volume, and then I'll read another one. This poem I wrote after a trip to Cape Breton, Unamagi last year with my partner. We were camping, which was a nice fall 2020 COVID safe activity. And on the way out, we made a sort of startling discovery. So I wrote this poem. Lifelong Cape Breton. Tight-chested resilience and a high-browed clarity. Love like a pinch in the nose, that sting. The brand of Sunday service and charity boards. No babies or white gowns, but asters perhaps threaded through the hair on salt damp evenings. A fat trust to the township when the second one follows into forever, she after she into that dark swell. No funeral or visitation, and no flowers, please. 2 years later, a baseball field where pop flies threaten to elope with the ocean. Names on the placard, poised in mustard letters. Friends or companions read the obits in their dusty newsprint ink. An oath now kissed together, fastened to chain link. And I'll read, thank you. I'll read a poem, Magpies, from my most recent collection, Murmurations. Magpies. Remarkable to our East Coast eyes, quotidian pest to the locals. You say beautiful and spark derision, their eyebrows raised like pinky fingers and the corners of their mouths twitching. Rarer still to us all these months later, as memory, relegated to our respective crevices of Canada. A pest, this distance, this longing. In memory, the bird's sleek feathers are still glossy in sunshine, inky check marks against the whiteness of the sky, the mountains, their wings and tails iridescent, pulsing against the limits of spectrum, rippling our vision into mirage. You still say beautiful with conviction. The world won't know what to make of us either. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anik. Michael, are you ready? Michael Russell? Michael Russell is the author to chapbook Grinder Opens from Frog Hollow Press. He's queer, has BPD, bipolar disorder, and way too much anxiety. His work has appeared in Arc Poetry Magazine, Heavy Feather Review, Homology Lit, Planitude, among other places, including Not Your Best Two. Please join me in welcoming Michael Russell.
I'm gonna read two poems. The first from Not Your Best, Eve. Sometimes I'm nothing more than a cracked rib slathered in his second favorite barbecue sauce. A little zing in the bedroom, citrus zest, pith. He tells me, everything I do is never good enough for you. And somehow, his cheating slithers back into my lap, coils. Ugh. The serpent of a man's cock is venomous. Boyfriend, should I transform myself into a Disney princess? Sleeping Beauty, collapse heavy on my knees, or dress up like your mother. Skirt myself in the withered cells of her placenta. Cook, clean, scrub, rub-a-dub-dub the shit stains from your underwear, or maybe whipped cream and cinnamon, dark chocolate strawberries I'd love. To boil you a pot of chili, fill it to the rim with cayenne and ghost pepper, demand you answer if I'll ever be enough. My cinnamon roll body pumped with yeast, sweetheart. Grab a fistful of my hair and tug until you genie a wish. Every skinny bitch you've chased, I'm willing to become. Mania speaks with cackle and burst. When you ponder who made the universe, who shaped this planet, who magically birthed your great-grandmother's grandmother from a river of sperm, who called out your Nena and answered with latex palms, ask this: who did Nena carry like fruit? Aunt, uncle, mother, and why did your mother carry you? Wonder how the moon sits kindly on the edge of a poem. Joy wanders the kitchen and prays the fat of happiness won't harden an artery. Honey, I am the reason you can eat all the bacon and never suffer a stroke. Listen, my spell which twists and knots, contorts and shocks, pain to poetry. Shazam, a bipolar manifesto. 1, sleep is weak and reckless. 2, spend all your money. Gifts, porn, gifts, porn. 3, your body is a sugar daddy. Gamble it pour on a douche or two from Grindr. Don't forget, a stud can fall to his knees and welt. Don't forget, revenge is best served skinny and hairless. Dedicate this poem to fickle love. Dearest boyfriend, the dick who crawled into my mouth before you shot his seed like prey. He's only a message away. Thank you.
Give me a moment. Oh my God. And that line, darling, your line at the end of Eve, every skinny bitch you've chased, I'm willing to become. She bows, she bows. Thank you so much, Michael. Oh my goodness. We're celebrating Not Your Best #2. It's the Queer as Fuck issue. I just put up the link where you can purchase shares. You can also get it at KFB West at our new KFB West location at Capitol Expresso in Parkdale, and our new KFB East location at the Great Escape Bookstore, which is at 957 Kingston Road. I know, because I'm traveling it myself, it's maybe a little bit out of the way for some of you, but I can promise you, you'll find goodness. Pearl, speaking of goodness, Pearl. Darling, if I was going to do drag, I'd be either Pearl Bailey or I'd be Mini Pearl. Because I'm a country girl at heart. I come from Ohio. There's 2 kinds of music in Ohio: country music and country music. Pearl Pirie's latest is Footlights from Radiant Press, although I think you have a new chapbook out since then. Mud Flaps for Short Dogs from Trainwreck Press, and is currently rotating among 15 manuscripts. That's on the low end for you, girl, because I know you crank out work. And what I'm really grateful for is the piece that we have here in Not Your Best 2. Please join me in welcoming Pearl Pirie.
Thanks, Kirby. I had the page open until the dog jumped on my lap. Oh, there it is. So I'll read 2, one from Mud Flaps and one from Not Your Best. A 1 a.m. note to Louisa. Am I audible? Good volume? Okay. I picked something in the room for each letter of the alphabet. For each letter of the alphabet. At quiet, rug, snores, t-shirt. I can feel the tension of V and X coming. How about this? Let's not even try to sleep. A chant of sleep, 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 sleep scares the dopey old sheep. The lit pulses of smoke detectors are our surrogate moons. Let's each keep our eyes on our own until a blur of sudden dawn. Does your husband sleep as heavily as his acrylics? Can you slip from sheets, play on the piano, forgive my French Anglo accent, sous le ciel de Paris coule un fleuve joyeux, hum hum, il endure dans la nuit. Wind rustles, not cattle, only leaves to the next property. The fallen leaves are all of our mothers. The silence that listens to the rain is them too. Your London moon is clouded. My Ottawa moon is clearing. We each have a moon. No, it's absurd to say there are two. Millennia of reports from the dead are trustworthy. One moon for all gazes. Eventually, all poetry is about the dead, by and dedicated to the dead. I get earnest when I get overtired, the way children who are overtired squeal. Yes, we have to take some things as givens, you said. No, you mean givens, not, oh, you were playing. How is your son? Tell me about something so detailed it becomes real. And from Mud Flaps for Short Dogs, I think I have good enough writing for its good enough lighting for the font size. The Boobsy Twins. It starts with an epigraph from Willow Marie Power, an Ottawa poet. I started believing in the impossible again, gave myself the gift of one small act of an even smaller insanity every day. At 23, I was skeptical of all the wrong things, looking askance at razors, binders for breasts or bras, both trussed like a roast. I'll go upper commando. Eyebrows and breasts have no such thing as perfect. How many men would wear a B cup? Shaving my face, I'm a young version of my dad. Tipping over cups, knocking over glasses, my sense of where my body borders are ended when I was 10. The Boobsy Twins bumble into things, trussing up the tender Christmas turkeys or swinging the cantilevered Polish sausages. Those twins have a go at typing like the cat. Keep up appearances, dear saddlebag fat. Cut shoulders, dangle from straps, double D chest paunches. A turn tosses the medicine ball, knocks balance off. Since they've thrown the center of balance outwards, can I spin to centrifugal force them off? Stuffed fast under layers, nipples are free citizens while hidden. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Pearl. Jake Byrne.
Hi.
I hear you're a queer writer, doll, and the winner of the CV2 Foster Prize, and your works appeared in the Fiddlehead and something Bat City Review. I was going to say Bat Shit Review, but it's Bat City. Okay, and the Underblong, among other journals in the U.S. and Canada. And I know you've got a couple of collections coming out in the next couple of years, which I'm thrilled at that news. So, you're a settler based in Toronto. How do you spell that or pronounce that? Quatinto? It's Toronto, and there's no other way to pronounce it. And it's on the traditional lands of the nations that constitute the Anishinaabe, right here in Toronto. Would you join me in welcoming this fine poet, Jake Byrne?
Hi, everybody. So nice to be here with you again. Our second quarantine Zoom Christmas, but it's very nice to see so many familiar faces. I'm going to read two short ones. I'm going to read Anderson from Not Your Best, because I've never read this one, actually. It's a couple years old. Oh, thanks, Anik. I think I wrote this one at Banff, actually, I think, or shortly thereafter. Anyway, I'm assuming that's where the magpies are from. Anderson. Anderson fucks my throat, adjusts his hips, and tries to stick his unwrapped cock inside me. Nah, man. He tells me he will shower and then he'll be right back. We both know he is lying. My reflection passes his reflection in the bathhouse's mirrored hallways, as if both of us were walking the passageway from this world into the next together. I leave the building. My boyfriend half a world away, ignoring texts because he doesn't like what's in them. Thinking about Anderson's cock on the cobbled slope of the Travessa dos Fios Deus. Apologies to any Portuguese speakers. His cock that is small, yet thick and powerful. Something I could slide in and out of my body like I could the barrel of a gun. Roses for fuckboys, Ira Alto sweats. Cutout men approaching offer ersatz cocaine, a mix of powdered glue and baking soda. July moon shivering with fever, the men exploding into pigeons, wearing little backpacks full of ecstasy. This next one was in this magazine's future issue, which I believe was their fall issue. It's short and sweet. Another bathhouse poem. Writing more, and I guess since you spent too much time there, and more of their poems become bathhouse poems. But those two had been written like 5 years apart. Event coordinator moving into project management. His name was Marco. Sometimes you know by the crackle of static in the air, the vibrations in the puddles on the sopping sauna floor. In the shower after, an event coordinator looking to move into project management. I don't know how to talk to people with real jobs. He spent his days an ersatz priest officiating weddings. Tall, Italian, bearded, I look the part. In this place that's all about appearances. There is a love for the blasted world that leaks from my body, hot and wet, in a tiled room choked with eucalyptus steam, red light and hyperpyretic piping, when every orifice of mine is full with the warm promise of tomorrow. Thank you very much. Just realizing I used ersatz in both those poems, a word I've probably never written ever since. I just happened to read them together. Oh, that's what editors are for.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you so much. Darlings, this is Not Your Best #2. It's the second in our series of the Not Your Best series. It's the Queer as Fuck issue. Tonight's the solstice, and I've selected a piece I'd like to share before we go. Yes, it's from my newest Poetry is Queer. Recently, a younger poet and I were admiring the same beauty, and they salaciously asked, "What would you do with him?" Not realizing it wouldn't be much different than what we were both doing now. I would simply enjoy having him enjoy himself casually around the house. My enduring fantasy Someone seated on the floor in his boxers and socks, playing guitar. Light turning his hair, his body golden, passing me a joint, reading, listening to music, separately, together. I have lived this life. It's 3 a.m, and a Greek god stands naked over me in my apartment after hours of delights, singing in full voice the opera he's currently rehearsing by candlelight. Will it wake my neighbors? Do I give a fuck? Like my beloved friend, CP, I can readily conjure these now ephemeral beings the desire shared, met in kind. This is my greatest comfort, surrounded by, reflecting what delights, and the sweetness that tends to reside there. Tenderness suffices, softens me. Not much else has to happen, does it? Sure, age can carry a certain forlornness, but each time my refresh button is lit and hit, the immediacy of the new collides with the familiar, fleshing out the perfect present moment. To be held and to behold the beauty in front of you. Always fearless in the face of pleasure, as Kavafi writes in At 9. Always fearless in the face of pleasure. I cannot imagine a more winsome approach to happiness. At the very least, in your attempts, you may encounter the glow of a cigarette, light upon leaves, La Luna. My darlings, thanks for keeping it queer and sweet. What a wonderful night. Thank you, everyone, each of you, for your participation in this project. You know you have my deepest thanks. And darlings, let's look after each other. Enjoy the solstice. Enjoy this time. I'm always within reach. Be well, okay? Much love. Thanks, everybody. What a great night. Thank you so much.